phone, and I was just like, hey, I'll do whatever makes it easier. If it's to give my phone, then I'll do that. And then it was ordered to give my phone, and I did so, like, hey, sure.
Got you your orders.
Sure.
You always comply with court orders?
Well, I mean, I think I know where this is going, and...
Well, not going anywhere. Do you always comply with court orders?
I mean, today, yes. And going forward, previously, there were some court orders that I didn't follow.
In the past, you failed to comply with court orders, correct?
That's right.
But this time with the phone, you actually did comply, and you willingly complied with the order. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Now, get to the court orders later. Turn to number 117, please.
I am here.
You recognize this as a text message between you and Kayla Torre on December 11, 2017?
Yes, I see this.
And it goes on for a couple pages. But the first thing you say to her on December 11, 2017, oh wow, so I have a good story for you, right?
That's right.
And that good story was your encounter with Mr. Batali, correct?
Yes, that's what we're talking about, yes.
And it's a big joke. You have a good story for her when you wrote that, right?
Well, it's definitely not a joke. It's a pretty serious matter.
This is your state of mind in
Right.
2017, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely present myself in some of these text messages as very flippant, kind of making it seem like it's not a big deal. In this message of text, yeah, but it's a pretty serious
We're
thing.
going to show a few of those.
Okay.
You say, oh wow, I have a good story for you. Then you send a picture of Mr. Batali, correct?
That's right.
And if you turn later in the thread, you say, he I think assaulted me in town, right? You say that on December 11th?
Yes.
That's the first time you ever wrote that in any text messages you've ever had, right?
I'm not totally sure about that, but I don't know if this is the first time that I said Mario Batali assaulted
You
me.
didn't start telling people he assaulted you until you saw that article, right? Isn't that true?
Well, I had told Rachel Buckley what had happened.
Okay.
In person.
We'll get to that in a minute. But you didn't text your best friend Kayla Torre until December 11th after you saw that article, right?
Right, and I wouldn't say she's my best friend, but yes.
Who do you think you texted with the most of all the text messages we've seen? If I told you had 60,000 text messages, would that surprise you?
I don't know. I have a lot of text messages with a lot of people.
But you didn't reveal her name and stuff because you didn't want these text messages to come to light, right?
No, I mean, I didn't really have anything to hide, so...
So when you wrote December 11, 2017 at 6:05, like, pay me 10K or I post them all. You didn't want to hide that?
There's no reason to hide that.
You wanted to get paid for the pictures. That was your first reaction when you saw the article, right?
Because that's how I thought this worked. I'd never been assaulted. Or I shouldn't say that actually, but I never knew what to do when a celebrity violates you.
You weren't violated. He didn't assault you.
Yes.
That's your testimony on the road today.
Yes, that Mario Batali assaulted me that night, yes.
And that was a good story you told Kayla that day, right?
Apparently, yes.
And she wrote, I have a pick and I want to be compensated. You wrote, yeah, right. Like, is that how it works? You wrote that, right?
Hold on, wait a second. What page is that on?
Just keep scrolling through.
I'm sorry, which page?
Flip the page over in this page.
Okay, on page 5.
You can turn to
Number 120?
Yeah. More text messages with Kayla Torre.
Okay.
By the way, where does she work?
I don't know.
You know she works for the Boston Police Department?
I don't think she still works there today.
Oh, she did at the time, though, right?
Yes.
And at the time you answered the interrogatory, she worked there, right?
She must have had to, yes.
So, let's see, so now we're on December 12th, you texted with Kayla.
Is this still number 120?
Yeah, you're right. Well, she made some comments above, and then you write, well, at least we'll get some excitement about suing Mario Batali, thankfully. She says, pardon my language, Your Honor, I don't need to say what the words are, but you can say them. She uses some swear words. There's a lot of that. See that? What's number 120? With me?
Oh, sorry, where are we supposed to be looking?
You wrote, well, at least we will get some excitement about suing Mario Batali, thankfully, right?
Okay, I see that, yes.
You're joking with Kayla about this assault and so traumatic for you, correct?
That's right.
And then she writes, F yes, taking them all down, 2017, you write every last one of these Fs. She says, have you tried coordinating ruining his life, right?
That's what she said.
And you wrote, I just emailed the woman who published the story for Boston Magazine, waiting to see if she replies. OMFG, she responds. And she says, you didn't attach the pic, right? You said, no, not yet. Remember this conversation you had with Kayla?
I really don't remember this conversation, but
You're not contending it didn't happen, right?
no, seeing it here, I mean, it happened, but I don't remember this conversation.
And she says, because she could steal that at no compensation. You have to blue ball it. What does that mean?
I don't know, because I didn't say that.
You don't know what she meant about the pictures blue balling in the reporters.
I don't know what she meant.
Then look at page 5 of that text string. OMFG, OMG, OMG. You see that?
Hold on. Okay, I see that.
She writes, just play up the story, right?
She writes that, yes.
And she's talking about your encounter with Mr. Batali, right?
Yes.
And you wrote OMG Queen, of course, right?
That's right, I wrote that.
This is a text message that we wouldn't have had but for that court order, correct?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because you didn't disclose Kayla Torre as a witness, so this directly underlines your story that you saw.
But I don't remember this conversation.
You remember that? You don't remember the text you sent her?
No, I mean, I'm seeing it now, but I didn't remember these conversations.
And then you wrote LOL, OMG, exciting. After you wrote, of course, in response to her saying, just play up the story. Now look at the next page. You wrote, I did say I had live photos as evidence, right?
Sorry, is that on page 6?
Page 4. And you screenshot the email with the report, right?
Yes. Okay, I see this, yes.
That's something you did periodically with Ms. Torre, right? Send her screenshots of things and you guys would be joking around about, what you were doing. You send her screenshots.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I'd like to offer 120 as an extra.
I'm all. That'll be admitted into evidence as the next exhibit.
And you texted her, you look at 121. Another text message from Ms. Torre.
Okay.
She's talking about calling in sick at work. And then she's talking about her jeans. And then she says, hopefully you will get this assault money and take a well-deserved break from work. Right? You see that?
She says that, yes.
This is December 13, 2017. You say, OMG, keep it up, girl. then if you look at the next page, what did you write at 9:16?
I wrote OMG. I know. LMAO. Give me 10K.
10K meaning $10,000. You're talking about trying to profit from the pictures you had of Mr. Batali, right? Is that what that shows?
Yeah, I really honestly thought that's how this all worked. I thought that celebrities, when they get in trouble, that's just how it works. Like,
so you agree that this was your state of mind in December 2017, you wanted $10,000 for the photos?
$10,000 is just like an arbitrary number to me. There was no, that to me really isn't it.
Testify about this assault. And I think your testimony is that the actual assault took place while you were taking the photo, correct?
That's right.
While you were holding that camera, correct?
Yes, and
And
also in moments in between photos. So during that whole time that I was next to Batali with my phone.
so to be clear, your testimony is that you were taking the photos, he was sitting on a bar stool, you were leaning in, holding the phone in your right hand, right?
Yes.
And he was grabbing your breast, your buttocks, and your crotch while you were taking the photos.
Yes.
And you testified that the hands that aren't in the photos were actually grabbing them at that very moment.
Yes.
But yet you don't flinch or grimace in any of those photos, right?
Well, I mean, I'm visibly uncomfortable. I have that like look on my face, and I think it looks like a smirk or a smile, but it's more of a grimace. Yeah.
You're saying the photos have a grimace. Let's go through them one at a time.
Yeah, you can bring them up. It looks like I'm smiling because I'm a very smiley, laughy person and try to de-escalate the situation. That's kind of my response.
Okay, so that's when you say you saw him and he called you over. We could look at what's the summary?
We are going to hit the pause button. Don't worry, you won't miss any of this testimony. We are on the cross-examination now of the woman who is allegedly a victim in this case. The defense team is saying no, as you can see. We're going to hear more of that right after this. Thank you for spending part of your Monday afternoon with us here at Court TV.
U.edu.
This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant. A brand new week, a brand new trial we've got for you here on Court TV Live. It involves celebrity chef Mario Batali. He's being accused of groping and forcibly kissing a woman that he did not know, someone that was a total stranger that happened to be in the same restaurant as him eating. She took a picture of him and then he noticed, and then they decided to take some selfies together. And right now his attorney is very heavily cross-examining this woman on whether or not she was in fact groped during a series of several pictures. And so we're going to go in now where we left off. And just so you know, we're only able to hear her voice. This is a court order that, of course, Court TV is abiding by. We cannot show her face, but you can just hear her voice speaking to the attorney. So let's go into the courtroom together now.
Oh, it's up there?
Do you need this?
No, I don't have it. You see that those photos are taken about 10 seconds apart?
Which photos, please?
If you look at that summary exhibit,
Yeah.
I would like to look at that. Yeah, thank you.
So if you look at these exhibits, number 2 in the left-hand column,
Yes.
that's 12:37, 0 seconds, then there's one taken 1 second later, 2 seconds. Look at the next page. 9 seconds. If you take a look at number 2. You can see the tile floor in between you and the tile.
Number 2. Okay.
You see that, if you look up here between you, you can see the tile floor.
That's right.
That's what that is, right?
That's right, yeah.
So there's that much space between the two of you. So your hips are about, 8 inches apart from his. And your testimony is his arm is going around and grabbing your breast at that moment.
I don't know if it's at this exact second or this exact moment. I mean, the next photo, I think number 3, it doesn't show the tile floor.
Well, let's go through one at a time.
Number 4.
Let's go through it. Let's look at the next one. Okay, that one doesn't, you're right, you're smiling. So let's take it a second later. That's 12:37:01. The next one, 02. We want you before then we go to the next one. And now there's the 4 again. See that? He wasn't grabbing you, pulling you closer. Was he?
He definitely was.
But not in this picture, right?
I don't know.
Well, you see the floor, the space between you?
But his hands are doing other things behind my back. He's grabbing my ass in this photo.
So you're leaning in and your testimony is he's grabbing your rear.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at the next one.
Number 3 or?
Next photo on the... We go live at this point. You said, hold on, one more, and you say, want one more? Yeah, that's what you just saw, right?
Because it's hard to hear him in the bar. And it's hard to kind of understand what he's saying because he's slurring his words so much.
Okay, just so we can establish this, you continue to take the selfies despite what you say he was grabbing you and assaulting you, correct?
That's right.
Continue to do it the entire time.
That's right.
And you don't bring us, or I don't see you bring us there. Let's look at the next one. The next slide. And then you start to laugh at the end of that one, right?
To de-escalate the situation. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm such a nervous...
Okay. That's what the picture shows. You're saying today, 5 years later, when you have a civil suit pending, you laugh to de-escalate, right? That's what you're saying today.
That's what I've been saying. Today, yesterday, 5 years ago.
Let's look at the next one. Okay, he's moving away. He's not grabbing you, right? At the end of that, he moves away like
He
this.
was just grabbing me. His hands were all over my face. His lips were all over my face. He was just grabbing me.
Well, but he was, that didn't show grabbing your breast, your buttocks.
None of the videos show that because his hands are not visible. The hands that are grabbing me are not in the photo.
Did you not just see the video where he moves away at the end of the photo? Is that what it depicted?
We both move away at that point.
You're holding the camera and he moves away.
Right.
Did that work? And you said, no, I want to take more selfies, didn't you?
I don't think so.
Well, he asked you, did that work? And then there's one more. Let's show the last one. And you're holding a pose with your lips closed.
That's what that looks like, yeah.
You're holding a pose with your lips closed for 3 seconds, right? After he said, was that good? You went back and got another selfie with him, right?
Yes.
Because he wasn't selfie.
Yes, he was.
Now, there's also a 3-minute pause between, if you look at that exhibit in front of you, sorry for the photos. There's 3 minutes between the still photos and the live, right?
Yes. Well, actually, sorry.
Take a look.
Yep, about 3 minutes.
And you were looking at the the selfies in that 3-minute interval to see if you had one of your life.
And also having some words with Mr. Batali, because we did have a conversation as well.
So this is cross-examination. I ask the questions and then you respond.
Okay.
You'll get a chance to do a redirect and then you can
Okay.
respond to the extent you want. There's a 3-minute gap. And that's consistent with you looking at your phone, looking at the pictures and saying, did you like them? Did you like them? Right? And then you went back and took some more, correct? Is that right? So you continued this encounter with Mr. Batali and taking the pictures. That's what 3-minute hiatus from the photos, right? Now, you also testified that you had this conversation with him, maybe in that 3-minute period where he said something about the Mandarin, right?
That's right. Among other things, but yes.
But wasn't your testimony before, when you were deposed, didn't you tell the Boston police that you had that conversation after all the photos?
I don't really recall.
You don't
It has
recall?
been, I don't remember if the conversation was during, after. I remember that I definitely had some brief exchange of words. And if that was during or after, I really don't recall.
Do you recall that you
So what do you think of the cross-examination? That is what we want to know here at Court TV. Tweet us your thoughts on social media. We are going to hit the pause button. You won't miss any of this. By the way, today is also opening day in the Beauty Queen murder trial in South Georgia, the case of victim Torre Grinstead. It went cold for many, many years. Now a man named Ryan Duke is on trial. We are streaming that for you, gavel to gavel. Just go to courttv.com if you'd like to watch that one as well. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant. So here we are showing you the trial of celebrity chef Mario Batali. And I just got a tweet from a woman named Lizzie who says she is actually double streaming because also on courttv.com, we are streaming live the Beauty Queen murder trial, the case of victim Torre Grinstead in South Georgia. The defendant's name is Ryan Duke. So you can stream them both at the same time if you want. You can never get too much Court TV. All right, let's go back in now to Mario Batali's trial, which is happening in Boston, Massachusetts. There's a woman on the stand. We cannot show her face. We can tell you her name. Her name is Natalie Teeny. She is saying that she was groped by Mario Batali in a restaurant while they were taking selfies. She claims he was forcibly kissing her face, sticking his tongue in her ear even. And now his attorney is very, very rigorously cross-examining her. Let's go in together now and watch some more.
Do you recall that you testified in your deposition? When you had the conversation after all the photos were done?
That would make the most sense. I mean, I just don't remember because it's been so long, and that deposition was a lot closer to like the event.
Right, so that's probably what happened. Your memory was better in 2019 on May 9th when you were deposed than it is today, right?
I mean, certain things definitely have left an imprint on me, whereas other details I might have forgotten in that time.
Didn't you, on learning that there was this 3-minute increment between the photos, didn't you come up with this? That's why I must have had this discussion. Isn't that something you just came up with recently?
No, I mean, I definitely had this conversation with him. I do not recall if it was in the time that the photos were taken, or if it was immediately after, or if it was a little bit of both.
Could we look back at the interrogatory, excuse me, my approach,
Yes.
your interrogatory responses again, with the same letter?
Sorry, what page is it?
You look at interrogatory number 8. It says, describe any statements you made to the defendant before, during, or after the alleged incident. See that? Page 5 of your interrogatory responses, that's number 51. Oh, 50. I'm sorry. 50 or 51.
Oh, Oh wait, so maybe this is upside down. Hold on.
With me?
Hold on 1 second. Somehow this got a little bit flipped around. Okay, I am on, sorry, this is just such a lot of papers. Hold on.
Well, I'll just say, the question was, please describe any statements you made from the defendant before, during, or after the evidence talking about Mr. Batali. Your answer was, no statements were made as a defendant. That's what you wrote, and that's what you signed under oath. Correct?
I'm sorry, which page are we on?
Page 5.
And I'm sorry, okay, page 5 and number 8?
Yeah, see where you wrote, no statements were made as a defendant. Before, during, or after the alleged incident. See that?
I do see that.
You signed that under the name of penalties, perjury, facts, and not.
I mean,
Back in 2019, right?
these answers are like my best answers. I'm not making up something.
Ms. Hennig, the answers are what they are, but they're different than what you're saying today, right?
I mean, apparently, yeah.
Mr. Batali didn't tell you he was staying at the neighborhood. That never happened, right?
Why wouldn't that happen? That did happen.
It's not a question.
That did happen.
But I told you he was staying at the Max, so that surprised you.
That's what he told me. I don't know if it's true or not.
But you didn't mention any of that in your adequate answer. Under oath as a part of your civil suit, right?
I mean, at the time, I was...
I think this has been asked and answered.
Overruled.
All right, we're going to hit the pause button right here as we're nearing the top of the hour, which means we have to go to a break, and we're going to go back into the courtroom after that. But I want to bring back in my guest on the program, criminal defense attorney John Mobley in Columbia, South Carolina. John, this is going to be take number 2. We tried to talk earlier in the show. We had some audio issues, so let's just back up. I want to get your thoughts on direct and on the cross. Starting with the direct, how you think this witness did there, please.
Well, Julie, I got to call it like I see it. You know, direct actually seemed like it went fairly well, but now on cross-examination, the lack of preparation into the direct is being exposed. I mean, you know, when you have a witness that has issues, best thing to do is to, on direct examination, bring all those issues out. Any weak points, any problems in their testimony, any issues of credibility, bring them out, because that way they will have less effect on cross-examination. And the prosecutor didn't do that, which is a major, major mistake in this case, because what it's being made to look like is whatever happened was not that big a deal to her, and now she's looking for a payday. I mean, every other answer to questions about deposition testimony, questions about her own text messages, I don't recall, I don't remember. There's discussions about getting paid. This is how it works with celebrities. Oh my God, they're gonna publish my story. I mean, oh, I was smiling to de-escalate the situation while I'm being sexually assaulted. It's not gonna fly. And I just think the prosecutor needs to be, you know, they need to be a little more particular about which case they take to trial. I mean, because something, clearly something happened, but whatever happened was not that big deal to her at the time. And it looks like she's looking for a payday.
John, excellent point you're making here about witness preparation. We see it time and time again. And here she is the Commonwealth's witness, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so they are the ones tasked with preparing her adequately for a cross like this one. So great point you're making. And quickly, before we have to hit the break, how do you think defense counsel's temperament is with her?
Oh, I think it's perfect. I mean, you know, I've always believed the best cross-examination is to simply present the question with the facts and let the witness respond.
Yes, John Mobley, thank you so much for that. You're going to stay with us. We want you to do the same at home. Of course, we just need to hit a break. We'll be right back with more Court TV Live for you after this.
9.
This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm your midday host, Julie Grant. It is great to see you on this Monday afternoon. So we're starting a brand new week today and starting 2 brand new trials. So in Boston, Massachusetts, we've got the case of celebrity chef Mario Batali. He's being accused of a minor sexual assault. He's being accused of groping a woman and forcibly kissing her while they were taking selfies together in a restaurant. So that case, we're seeing the cross-examination right now of the alleged victim in the case. I'm going to take you in there in just a moment. Also want to let you know we're seeing the start of the beauty queen murder trial today. The defendant is Ryan Duke. He's being accused of murdering Torre Grinstead. She disappeared back in 2005 in South Georgia. The case went cold for many years. Our cameras are in the courtroom. We are streaming it all for you, gavel to gavel, on courttv.com. And also, we are getting you caught up and looking ahead to the Depp case. Court is dark this week because the judge had something else she needed to attend, so everybody is using the week to prepare, presumably. So we're talking about that in the show as well. So first, we take you to Boston, Massachusetts for more of the trial of Mario Batali. He decided to go judge today instead of going jury. That is, of course, his right, and we'll see if it was a smart move. His attorney is very rigorously cross-examining the alleged victim right now. We're going to go in where we left off.
Sorry, what was the question?
You didn't mention that statement about the hotel, you staying over, that wasn't in your interrogatory, right?
That wasn't in these answers, but it was in other conversations that we had while I was under oath.
Okay, you were under oath on this day, you didn't put it in there. I'll just...
I'm trying to put my best answers to this.
Your best answers that help.
No, like the answers that I have the most knowledge about. Like I'm trying to give the full answer at this time.
Today?
No, whenever this interrogatory information was filled out.
Now you, again, like those severe emotional stress, right, we established that, you still feel that way, you felt that the day after, right?
Yeah.
So April 1st, and then you said you and your friends believe you were going to boycott Italy? Is that what you were, Rachel? Is that what you said?
Some kind of sentiment like, oh, we're not going to eat there because why would we?
Right away.
I mean, that was kind of the sentiment. It wasn't like we're not going to ever set foot in the Prudential Center. It was like, yeah, if we see Italy, we're not going to go in there, right?
That's because you think you said that his face was all over Italy, right?
There were certain merchandise that had his face on it, yeah.
And you testified in your deposition that it made you sick to see a jar of pasta with his face on it, right?
That's kind of repulsive, yes.
And it made you sick to walk into Italy. It would have made you sick to walk in there at all. See his face on a pasta jar, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was very disgusted with Batali, yeah. And knowing...
You were disgusted, embarrassed, humiliated, right?
That's right.
It would be triggering for you to go into Italy. It would be, you have intrusive memories.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, but I'm also not gonna, I mean, it's in the mall. Like, if I pass Italy, I'm gonna...
But you actually did go to Italy, like 4 weeks after this assault, didn't you?
I don't remember that.
Well, why don't we take a look at the bank records in order for your civil cases, number 6. Document number 6.
Or numbers.
Recognize that to be a summary of your credit card statement, 2017.
This does look like it, yes, there's a lot of pages here.
So turn to, it's marked 10A, and the last numbers are 286. You see that? Get to that page.
Okay, well, it says dining.
And you see where it says on May 25th, Italy, Boston, 4245?
I do see that.
So you went to Italy 4 weeks after the assault and spent money at just a Batali's restaurant, even though you claimed this made you sick to be anywhere near him, right?
Yeah, but I don't remember going into Italy after that.
If you don't remember, then that's what happened, right?
Okay then.
Because you weren't assaulted on April 1st.
Yes.
Well, you obviously didn't remember that when you went on May 25th, right? Because you wouldn't have gone there. You wouldn't go there if you had suffered all this emotional distress, right?
No, I probably was dragged there by someone who I was with, who I didn't tell about the assault, and probably they wanted to go there or do something or whatever.
You were with Philip Wolf, who you did tell about the assault. Did that surprise you?
He liked Italy.
So why don't you turn to, let me offer, I'd like to offer ID 06 as evidence.
Any objection, Commonwealth?
I think the whole page, there's several pages of the main record. I
Right.
don't have an objection to the page with the Italy information.
Maybe at the break I can do the top page. I'm sorry. May I approach her?
Yes.
So I'm off this would be exhibit 6. Take a look at what's been marked ID 18. You see that? You see the document marked as ID 18?
No. Oh, sorry, hang on. Wait, what page is that on?
ID 18, tab 18.
Oh, tab 18. Okay.
Does that reflect your recollection that you were with Mr. Wolf?
This does now, yes.
And did you order the asparagus? Or
I don't remember.
ravioli? Or you don't remember?
I don't remember what we ate that day.
So you didn't get dragged there. You went there voluntarily, willingly to Mr. Wolf, even when you against Italian assaulted you, right?
It's not like I was really enjoying myself or anything. I don't even remember this dinner.
Well, listen, you recall if you later texted Friday? You said it was kind of cool, but it was expensive, Italy.
Maybe.
Let's look at 105.
Sorry, so tab 105?
Yes. You remember texting somebody named Carly Snidely? Is that somebody you know?
Yes.
And on June 7, 2017, now we're about two months after the supposed assault, he said, I went to Italy and got their food and you can walk around with your drinks. You see that?
Yes.
And he wrote, that was kind of cool, but it was so expensive, right?
Yeah.
Nothing about F Mario Batali, you assaulted me, you haven't read that, right?
That's right.
So this was your state of mind in June of 2017.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool to be able to walk around and you're in the restaurant with your drink. There's not really many places in Boston you can do that. And it was pretty expensive. It wasn't my favorite place in the world. And I had only been there, I think, one time. This was probably the only time that I'd been there.
After you were assaulted, right?
That's right.
I think you testified in your deposition you didn't think you ever went back to town after that, right?
I don't remember. I mean, we were regulars at town. I don't remember if we went back after that or...
It would have been triggering for you to go back to town, or you brutally assaulted you.
Well, town, we had gone there pretty often.
So, answer my question. The emotional distress you claim to have suffered, humiliation, extreme severe emotional distress, you'd be reliving that if you went back to town, right?
The location of town wasn't the triggering thing that was going to bring back, the unsettling emotions.
The place where he assaulted you, that's not... So you know you went back to town.
I had been to town before and probably after. That was the regular place that we went to. Town wasn't the thing that was really triggering.
Sure, your deposition transcript. You don't have it in front of you, right?
I'm not sure what page that's on.
You only have one binder, right?
Yes.
You grab the other one. That's the second one.
64.
Yeah, no. Can I approach the witness around?
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you look at, turn to page 50 of the deposition testimony.
Okay.
Question, you've been there afterwards, you said you're referring to town. Actually, I don't believe I've been there since, and now it's actually closed. So back, when you testified under oath in May of 2019, you didn't believe you'd gone back there.
That's right.
So what do you think today? Did you go back there or
I
no?
really don't remember.
But it wasn't triggering, so the fact that you may have gone back 3 times, your testimony today is that wouldn't have been triggering thing for you to go back where you were yourself.
I mean, I definitely. Town wasn't the scary place. It was the scary person that was triggering. Town wasn't the scary place. We've been there 100 times, and I was pretty comfortable at town.
Even though you were assaulted there. We look at, so you agree, I'm not going to have to go through all this. You agree you went back there and that would show up on your credit card records?
If it's showing up on my credit card records, then I can't deny that we had been there again.
Okay. Now, you already testified you reached out to this reporter, right?
That's right, yes.
And then that was right after you read the article in December. And then you're in touch with her, you're emailing back and forth, probably talking on the phone, right?
That's right, yes.
And on January 12th, 2018, take a look at number 124, document number 124.
Oh, in this larger folder?
The bigger one, yeah.
Okay.
You see that the reporter is telling you that she's going to move forward with the story?
Yes,
That story was about Mr. Batali's assault, right?
that's right.
And you were happy about that, right?
I mean, to hear that, yeah, she's done, you know, our conversation is done, she's going to put out an article, I was like, okay, great, that's whatever works.
And then later that night, you went back.
So we're going to hit the pause button. You're not going to miss a moment of this cross-examination. This is the key to all of this. With a case like this, that you have a person who's an alleged victim who's coming forward saying that she is the victim of a minor sexual assault. Her testimony is really the key to all of this. And in somewhat of a surprise move to some people, Mario Batali chose to waive his right to a trial by jury. Now, while that move does not surprise me, it does surprise me that it happened on the day of trial. I would have thought this would have been scheduled as what's called a bench trial before a judge. Let me bring in my attorney, guest criminal defense attorney John Mobley, who practices in Columbia, South Carolina, to talk a little bit about this. John, getting a lot of questions about this on social media. Many of us are talking about it here at Court TV. And when I got the question about how do you know whether to go judge or jury, I said it all depends on your judge and on your jury. Tell me your thoughts, if you would, please.
Well, Julie, my thought is I always like a jury over a judge. While, yes, judges are well-respected, well-esteemed individuals that try to make the best decision, there's still individuals that are up for re-election and are subject to all type of scrutiny. No judge will ever tell you they want to be the judge that throws out a murder case or finds someone accused of sexual assault not guilty. No judge wants to be that person because there will always be a backlash of some sort that's going to come back later to haunt them. It is always much easier for the judge to let the jury make that call and take the pressure off the judge. I never agree with having a bench trial on serious allegations.
Okay, so on serious allegations, what about this? In the grand scheme of things, we know there are many, many, many types of sexually assaultive behavior, right? I'm sure you've tried some of the most serious cases. This one is a minor sexual assault that's being alleged by this woman, groping over the clothing and forcible kissing are the allegations. Tell me, on a case like this, would this be one that ordinarily you might see be worked out in some type of plea agreement?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really kind of surprised this case didn't work out in the plea. I mean, I think that despite how well the cross-examination of the alleged victim is going, Batali made some major mistakes early on in this case, where it seems like he was more concerned about his public image than the possibility of prosecuting. He made all these public admissions and apologies. I mean, for Christ's sake, the man sent out a newsletter apologizing. So he has all these admissions on the record prior to being prosecuted, yet he's still going to trial. So that's why I'm really kind of surprised this case wasn't worked out, because they had the admissions by the defendant.
Me too, John, and I appreciate you saying so, because I want our viewers to know, what happens practically every day in courthouses around the country. Cases like this very well may be worked out. I know if I was a prosecutor and this came across my desk, I would certainly try to. I would try to do everything that I could to resolve it in the way of a plea agreement. But at the end of the day, it's up to the defendant being accused, because he's cloaked in the presumption of innocence. As you know, it's his right as to decide to enter in any plea if there is something offered. We don't even know if the Commonwealth of Massachusetts offered him anything. We're not privy to that. So I would be really curious to know if they did, and then if he would have taken it, if they would have. But we may never know. Maybe after this case, somebody will tell us. But appreciate your insight on this right now. John Mobley standing by in Columbia, South Carolina, and we want you to stay with us at home. We just need to squeeze in a break. Much more Court TV Live, and the case of celebrity chef Mario Batali continues after this.
Jewelry with Worthy.com.
This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm your midday host, Julie Grant. Thank you for being with us on this Monday. We want to take you back to Boston, Massachusetts right now, where we're seeing the trial of celebrity chef Mario Batali playing out before a judge. He made the decision this morning to waive his right to have his case heard by a jury, which is, of course, his right. He's entitled to have it heard by whomever he pleases. And so here it is, the judge who is now the finder of fact, as the jury would have been, as was what was planned in this case for the months ahead of trial. Right now, his attorney is cross-examining the alleged victim in this case. Her name is Natalie Teeny. We can't show her face on camera, but we are able to broadcast her audio. Let's go back in now where we left off.
Brutal assault occurred, right?
If that was a Friday night and I was with Jonathan, that's very likely the place we went, yeah.
So take a look at 126. You there?
Yeah, I'm here, yes.
See that? Is that a picture of you?
Oh, wait, sorry. I'm on page 1. Oh, wait, sorry, I was on 125. Okay. Oops.
ID 126. Yeah, there's a lot of paper.
There's a lot of, sorry about that. Okay, I'm on that page, yes. Oh, thank you, sorry.
See that there's a picture of you with a woman, and you guys are staying in town, almost exactly where you were assaulted, right?
Yes.
So let's look. So we agree you were there on January 12th, the day you learned that the reporter was moving forward with the story. Agree with that?
I guess so. I mean, if this was a Friday night and I was hanging out with Jonathan, that's the place we would go. Not by my choosing, but that was definitely the place Jonathan always wanted us to meet up. So, yep.
So you didn't want to go there?
It's not that I did or didn't want to. It's just that was always the place. If I was going to hang out with Jonathan, we would always go to town. That was just it.
But were you reluctant to go? You weren't reluctant, right? You wanted to go.
I mean, that's just the place we normally met up.
You encouraged other people to join you on several occasions after you were assaulted. You encouraged others to go join you in town, right?
Yeah, I mean, I liked their food. I liked their atmosphere. It was close.
Okay, so let's take a look quickly at exhibit number 60, please. So, tab 60.
Sorry, there's like some,
See the ball in the picture?
yes.
That's you and your friend?
Yes.
Say it on the screen. I'm going to copy of that photo. You can see the tile floor in that picture.
Yes. Or for the most part, yeah.
Same floor that we saw in the pictures of you at the Batali.
Okay. Yeah.
Virtually the same spot.
I mean, I don't know if it's, everything kind of looks the same in terms of the decor. I don't know if it's the exact same spot or what.
All right, I'll offer the photo, largest number 60.
Any objection, Commonwealth? All right, that'll be marked as the next exhibit.
We look at 61, just so we are clear on the proximity of the town to Ely.
Yeah.
See that photo?
I do.
So I recognize that to be, looks like this was taken more recently, but that's where town was, right?
That's right.
And it's right next to Ely.
That's right. Yes.
So I'm going to offer it to 61.
No objection, Commonwealth?
No objection.
All right.
By your deposition, when asked about your emotional distress, you said, when you walk past Ely, you're disgusted, you don't want to go in, you want to avoid it at all costs, right? When you walk past Batali, you're disgusted, you don't want to go in. When someone asks you to go to that restaurant, your stomach turns, and you want nothing to do with it. It's disgusting. And you see like its face on a pasta jar or something, and you're like, that is that creep. That's the creep that pulled me by the groin like a rag doll, like taking total advantage of whatever status and celebrity he thinks he has, and that's that pervert, that monster. You testified to that, right?
That's right.
And you had those feelings right after this happened. And yet you walked right in front of Ely at least 3 more times to go to town, the very place where this happened to you, right? Isn't that right?
That's right.
And you went back to Ely.
I went to Italy that one time, probably.
And he didn't call you that like a rag doll.
Yes.
You came up with that in deposition. The videos don't show a guy being pulled around like a rag doll, do they? They don't show that, do they?
They don't show that. That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Let's describe that response.
Any position on that, Commonwealth? I'll note your objection, counsel, but I'm not going to strike the response.
You're on Facebook, right?
I have Facebook, yeah.
And you recall in October 2017, again, I think you said Philip Wolf, he liked Ely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know everything that he likes, but he likes food and.
Well, so Facebook, I'm not on Facebook, but when you tag somebody, they get a notification, right?
Yes.
Tag them, and then something's going to pop up that you want to tell them about, right?
That does happen on Facebook, yeah.
Okay, so in October of 2017, you tagged Philip Wolf about an opening of Italy World. You remember that?
Well, actually, I don't remember that, but he liked Italy, and it was a big deal when it opened in Boston.
When you look at your ranking,
Okay, I'm here.
I recognize, just look through the pages and tell me if you understand what these pages represent.
These are Facebook posts.
Did you tag Mr. Wolf and then like Italy in November with these hands, crazy emoji hands over your head? Is that what you did?
Yes, but I don't recall this.
Well, I'm not asking if you recall it, but that's what that is, right?
Yes.
And so praising emoji hands, that's the 2 hands, that's a good thing, that's a positive thing, right?
That's like, I think, a high five or something.
So it's not a negative thing, like they probably have,
Well, it says Italy in November.
yeah, so this restaurant's opening in Italy, right? That's what the article's about, right? First page.
Yeah, okay, yes.
So I'd offer 19.
So what specifically, all right. What specifically are you seeking to offer?
The whole packet, because it's different screenshots of the
All right.
Facebook post on it, which show,
So the entirety of tab 19?
yes.
Any objection, Commonwealth?
No objection.
It's publicly available. And so you wrote Italy in November, praising emoji hands, Mr. Moore, suggesting you and Ito that you Italy in November and visit Italy World.
Maybe. I mean, it was just an interesting, who knows if this was like a sponsored post for me or something, and it came in my feed and just tagged Phil.
All right, we're going to hit the pause button here as we're nearing the bottom of the hour. Let me bring in my guests to see what they think about how this case is going so far. On opening day, I have with me in Columbia, South Carolina, criminal defense attorney John Mobley, and joining the conversation from San Antonio, Texas, forensic psychologist Dr. John Della Torre. Great to see you both. Okay, Dr. Della Torre, since you're just joining us this hour, tell me what you think about how this alleged victim is answering these questions on the cross, please.
I don't know. I'm not particularly liking her answers to a lot of these questions. I think if there was a jury, I think they would probably be tuning her out now. There are a lot of conflicting statements. There's a lot of I don't recalls. There's a lot of things that just don't kind of make sense when put into context with how severe she claims her emotional response was to being violated in the way that she was. So I don't particularly like this cross-examination, how she's answering these cross-examination questions.
Mm-hmm. And John Mobley, tell me, we touched on it a little bit about this attorney's style with the cross. He is being aggressive with her in some of the questioning. He's asking tough questions, but his temperament isn't nasty. It's not overly aggressive. He's just asking the questions that are hitting on the tough stuff. The only thing I could say that I wish he wouldn't do is he was stepping on her answers a little bit and kind of interrupting her, and I kept thinking, no, just let her go, let her go. Were you thinking the same thing as you were watching that?
I noticed a little bit of that. I don't think it was overdone to the point where it was hurting his cross-examination. I mean, she's just not a good witness. I mean, his pacing for the most part is great because he's confronting her with her own words and her own conduct. And over again, it is, I don't recall, I don't remember. Well, you said that in the deposition. Well, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I mean, and it's just, and I tell you what, her going back to the restaurant where she was supposedly sexually assaulted just does not make any sense. I don't think any woman would ever say they would go back to the place where they were sexually assaulted because they liked the pasta. It's just inconsistent with her being sexually assaulted. So overall, I think his pacing is great with his witness because his style is, hey, let her hang herself with her own words and her own conduct.
Mm-hmm. I like that he is very prepared. I can just tell that he has been chomping at the bit to do this cross. And I don't know this attorney, not familiar with him. This is the first time I'm seeing him try a case on Court TV. I can just tell the way he's listening, looking at his questions, and he's ready to fire something else at her with every answer. Let me ask Dr. John about the point you just brought up about the returning to the restaurant, because that was one of those things I thought to myself, when she was asked about that and she did go back to the restaurant where she says this sexually assaultive behavior took place, her answer was that, well, the restaurant wasn't scary to me. And I'm paraphrasing here. She's saying that to her, Mario Batali was the scary person and not so much the restaurant. She said, I'd been there like 100 times or something, and it was a place I really liked. Dr. John, how does that sit with you as a forensic psychologist?
I mean, dealing with someone who's been violated sexually and the trauma response associated with it makes it a lot more complicated. But here's one of the things that we would be looking for as a psychologist. We're doing an assessment. The issue becomes, does she expect him to be there? Right? If she expects him to be there, then the problem is that she would be anticipating that it might happen again. So in essence, she would fear wanting to go because she could not predict when he was going to be there. If it really was just about him, then absolutely the person can dissociate and compartmentalize and make it so that they continue to go to a location even though something bad happened. So it's complicated. I'm leaning more towards my first theory and less to this one that I just gave you.
appreciate it. Dr. John De La Torre, attorney John Mobley, thank you both kindly. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we are going to return to our discussion about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. This case has really captured the attention of people all around the world. And Amber Heard's testimony sparked some debate online. Twitter in particular, I saw this all over Twitter. Maybe you did too. Let us know. There are some people that are accusing her of quoting movies in her testimony. Well, guess what? We are fact-checking here on Court TV. We'll tell you if those claims are true or not next.
.com now.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. The vicious he said, she said legal battle between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is on pause this week. The defamation case taking place in Virginia will resume on May 16th with more of Amber Heard on the stand. In the meantime, we are digging deep into what we've seen presented so far in the way of evidence. This trial is so high profile, it has drawn scrutiny all over the world, lots of it coming on social media. Surprise, surprise, with the internet going wild with theories that Amber Heard has lifted some of her testimony from notable movies. But is that true? We're fact-checking today, folks, on the show. Let's take a look together at some of the most talked about moments and see if there is any merit to those claims. So first up, we have the moment where Amber Heard claims that Johnny Depp owned a jar of cocaine, and the clip from the movie Pirates of the Caribbean.
He was drinking, and I didn't realize at the time, but I think he was using cocaine because it was like there was a jar of cocaine out on the table. I realized that sounds weird, but it was like an actual vintage jar of it.
Look what I got. I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
Okay. All right there. So that was the comparison that some people are drawing. Coming up next, users on both Twitter and Facebook shared what they purported to be side-by-side quotes showing Amber Heard's statements in nearly identical phrases from the 1999 movie The Talented Mr. Ripley, which read, quote, "The thing with Dickie, it's like the sun shines on you and it's glorious, and then he forgets you and it's very, very cold. When you have his attention, you feel like you're the only person in the world. That's why everybody loves him so much," end quote. This post does not match any of Amber Heard's testimony and was soon debunked on the popular website Snopes. While not a direct quote from the film, here's what Amber Heard actually said about her fond memories with Depp.
I felt that, like, when I was around Johnny, I felt like the most beautiful person in the whole world. You know, it made me feel seen, made me feel like $1 million.
So are these similarities purely coincidental? Are the viewers of the trial, some of them, not all the viewers, but some of them, creating something on social media that just doesn't exist? Let me bring in my guests for their thoughts. Still with me, criminal defense attorney John Mobley and forensic psychologist Dr. John De La Torre. Okay, so when you actually break it all down and see what happened, I mean, there were some really wild accusations on Twitter. I know I saw it on I can't remember what day it was last week because it all kind of blends together, but I saw it last week, and I know you both are active on social media. Dr. John De La Torre, let me go to you first on this one, please. What do you think with some folks saying with absolute certainty that this was the case and she is ripping this statement exactly from a movie and then putting that out there on social media and hashtagging it as if it's the truth?
Well, I think it speaks to the larger polarization that is going on within our society just in general. But when I look at this as a microcosm, you can clearly see that a majority of the individuals are absolutely on Johnny Depp's side, and that most of the individuals that are on that side are willing to take Amber Heard and really just, run her through the ringer and just find any reason to say that she's not credible and that she's not lying. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. John Mobley, give me your thoughts on this, please, from the standpoint of somebody who knows what it's like to be an advocate. Here you have attorneys on both sides who know this case is being very closely watched and certainly know that this is a possibility, right? That people might say things that are totally untrue, put it out there as if it's fact. But what can you do when you're an attorney on a case like this?
Well, I think from a trial standpoint, you kind of just have to ignore it. I've always considered social media the analogy of imagine thousands of people being in a crowd and giving all of them a megaphone and letting them talk. They all think they are the most poignant and the funniest and have the best sense of humor and have the best set of facts. And it just you kind of have to shut that out and do your job.
Exactly.
But I do think in this case that largely what social media is in this case, it's analogous to what I think the jury and the public are probably thinking about her testimony. I mean, Amber does not appear to be someone that's viewed as an authentic witness. She is just not. I mean, I think if you look at everything about this case, Johnny Depp takes a witness stand, he puts it all out there. He talks about his drug use, his addictions, his issues. He admits all of his bad conduct and says things that puts himself in a very negative light. Amber gets up on the witness stand, and the first thing she does is try to play the victim card. And I don't think anybody's buying it. I think that's just a big mistake on her part. And even when you look at little details, like how she's dressed and her appearance on the witness stand, look back at the video from the beginning of the trial. Her hair is down, she's wearing makeup, she's dressed very much like the celebrity. Look at her now on the witness stand, she's dressed like she's someone that's doing missionary work someplace. And the bottom line is that's not her, and she's not being authentic. And I believe the public and quite frankly, the jury, they're all seeing that.
All right, John Mobley, appreciate your opinion on that. Let me ask Dr. John Delatorre for his opinion. Dr. John, I haven't had a conversation with you yet about Amber Heard's testimony and how you perceived her on the stand and what you thought of the stories that she told. Tell us, please.
Well, I have some complex thoughts because I do think that she is rehearsed. I 100% think that. But that being said, shouldn't she be rehearsed? I asked myself that question as well because she's had to go through this in her own mind plenty of times, and she's had to go through this, to the public plenty of times too. Is she authentically emotional? No, she's not. There are times when it perhaps seems like she's trying to be but can't get there. There are other times when perhaps she is, but that maybe she's the type of person that isn't overly emotional, right? So do I think the jury thinks she's credible? At this point, no, I don't think the jury thinks she's credible, but I have some very complex issues when it comes to her testimony that I hope she can kind of iron out with this week-long break, because cross-examination is going to come up, and that's going to be the real decider here.
Oh, yeah. I've had many folks asking me what I think both sides are doing right now, and it's practicing. It's a lot of digging in and preparing for next week, and they're very fortunate that they get this break. Both sides are fortunate, the Heard team and the Depp team, and it was all because of the judge. For anybody wondering, the judge had a previously scheduled conference, so they had to clear out the week. That being said, John Mobley, tell me, when you think about the preparation on both sides here that's going on, if you had to guess, would you think that both of these parties are probably with their lawyers right about now working on the case?
Oh, I would agree 100%. One thing I'm really, I guess, disagreeing with Amber's defense team about is putting her up so early in her case. Because, Johnny Depp, his case in chief really kind of laid the hammer down regarding her personality, her integrity, her honesty, her credibility. And I think putting her up so soon is actually going to hurt, because I think the jury already receives her in a negative light with some skepticism, not as credible. I would have started my corroborating witnesses. I would have started with the witnesses that back her up, that talk about their observations of abuse and his behavior toward her. Put them up first to kind of bolster her credibility. So by the time she testified, she's already had people that were supporting her position. Because I think putting her up so soon, people just don't believe her. And everything she's saying is just being viewed skeptically.
All right, gotta leave it there for now. John Mobley, John Delatorre, thank you both kindly. We're gonna squeeze in a break. When we come back, we're gonna get you all caught up on some other stories that are making legal headlines around the country on this Monday. Your Court TV Legal Briefs is next. Welcome back to Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm your midday host, Julie Grant. We want to get you caught up on your legal briefs this afternoon, everything else going around the country and the legal world. Let me bring in Court TV crime and justice reporter Joy Lim-Nakrin standing by in the studio. Joy, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Julie. So topping our legal briefs from around the nation this hour, new developments in the case against the Colorado man charged in his wife's death. The daughters of Barry Morphew say that they're standing behind their dad, and they don't believe he had anything to do with her disappearance. Suzanne Morphew was reported missing on Mother's Day 2020. Her husband, Barry, was arrested and charged with her death and other crimes last year. He pleaded not guilty and was scheduled to go to trial last month, but prosecutors dropped the charges. A judge had actually prohibited prosecutors from presenting most of their key witnesses at trial as punishment for failing to turn over evidence that could have been favorable to the defense. And in Indiana, a man is in jail charged with murdering his wife, but he has now won the primary election for a township board. 40-year-old Andrew Wilhoit received 60 of the 276 total votes Tuesday for Republicans for 3 positions on the Clinton Township Board in Boone County. Wilhoit was arrested in late March in the death of 41-year-old Elizabeth Nikki Wilhoit. State police say he struck his wife in the head, knocked her out, then drove her to a creek miles from their home where he ultimately dumped her body. He's scheduled to stand trial in August. If he is convicted before the November 8th general election, he would be automatically removed from the ballot. Also following new developments in the case of a missing 7-year-old girl, Harmony Montgomery from New Hampshire. The young girl's stepmother has now been released on bond. The judge previously set as a condition for release that Kayla Montgomery enter the New Hampshire Drug Detox Center, but the center did not admit her. The judge noted she is indigent, but has voluntarily received drug treatment in jail. She was able to post a $5,000 bond. She's required to check in daily with police, must continue drug treatment, and avoid contact with Adam Montgomery, Harmony's father. Now, Kayla Montgomery was arrested and charged with welfare fraud, theft, and possessing a stolen gun, but not actually in Harmony's death. And Harmony has not been seen in more than 2 years. A search for her is still ongoing. All right, so that's a look at some of our legal briefs from around the nation, Julie.
Yeah, Joy Lim-Nakrin in the studio for us. Thank you so much. It's such a sad situation with Harmony Montgomery. What we're going to do now, we just have a couple of minutes left in this hour of the broadcast. I want to bring back in my guests before I have to say goodbye to one of them, criminal defense attorney John Mobley in Columbia, South Carolina, and forensic psychologist Dr. John Delatorre in San Antonio, Texas. Looking ahead, we were just chatting about the Depp Heard case. Everybody is just craving more and more of this case, and we all just have to wait a couple more days to hear some more. But when we go back, we're going to be hearing the cross-examination of Amber Heard. John Mobley, we're going to have to let you go in a couple minutes. So I want to go to you on this one, please. What do you think are the most important things that the Depp team has to do on the cross?
Really, I think let Amber talk. I really think Amber's the kind of witness that if you ask her questions, she will always downplay anything negative about herself. She will deny anything, that's inappropriate or shows her in a negative light. I think just kind of confront her with all those types of details and that type of testimony, and I think her answers are going to hurt herself.
Yeah. Dr. John, tell me, with the cross-examination, that can be where everything can fall apart for a witness if they're not very strong and very sure of themselves. And sometimes attorneys don't score any points on the cross. Sometimes witnesses are outstanding. What do you think what do you think are the most important things she needs to keep in mind?
Well, she needs to remember that she's just simply a piece of evidence, right? That she cannot be emotional. She can't be any of these things that would lessen her credibility.
Yeah, Dr. John Delatorre, we'll continue talking more about it in our next hour. John Mobley, we have to say goodbye to you. Thank you so much for being with us on Court TV this afternoon, and thank you at home. We'll be right back with more of the Batali trial after this.
I think I'm going to want to date this pasta.
Yes. And you know what this pasta is, Simon? It's easy, so it's going to want to date you. Burn. Then...
All right. right. That was well-renowned chef and restaurateur Mario Batali making a joke on his former ABC cooking show, The Chew, that many could now say was foretelling of what was to come for the now disgraced former celebrity chef. He's on trial today for a single count of indecent assault and battery following an alleged 2017 incident in which he's accused of groping and forcibly kissing a woman after taking selfies with her at a Boston restaurant. Batali's defense team denies the allegations, saying that the victim in this case made it up for financial gain. We'll take you back inside of the courtroom as soon as the jury's brought back from their lunch break, and that should be in just a matter of minutes. In the meantime, we want to remind you that the Depp versus Heard dueling defamation trial is dark this week. However, we are bringing you lots of updates and analysis of the 4 weeks of testimony. Now, this morning, Mario Batali opted to have his case heard by judge instead of by jury. That is well within his rights to do that. So the judge here is the fact finder, the one to determine the facts and the law applicable to the case. Now, that jury is set to be back around 10 after 2. So as soon as that happens, we're going to take you inside there, and we're trying to rectify some of the audio issues. We've been hearing you on social media. We know it's happening. We are doing our very best to get that corrected. So what we want to do is take a look back at some of what we saw in the first week of the Depp trial. So we're going back to week 1. All this week, we're going to kind of look at every single week with every single new day this week. So you know everything kicks off with the opening statements, right? Let's go back together now and watch as the Depp attorneys take swings at Amber Heard's claims of abuse and tell the jury just how they intend to prove them false.
The evidence will show that Ms. Heard went to great lengths to win him over by playing the doting girlfriend, and it worked. He fell head over heels in love with her. And over time, the real Ms. Heard began to emerge. She would berate him, scream at him. He would try to appease her, and sometimes, just sometimes, things would get better. But it would always happen again. The evidence will show that Mr. Depp started coping with Ms. Heard in the same way he did as a child. He would try to get away, avoid the conflict. But his trying to leave enraged Ms. Heard. She would resort to physical violence. And you're going to hear that when Ms. Heard got violent, Mr. Depp would just retreat. In her words, Ms. Heard's words, he would split. You will not see a single photograph of the vast majority of the abuse alleged by Ms. Heard. Not one. And there is not a single photograph or video showing Mr. Depp becoming physically violent towards Ms. Heard. The only medical report of an injury during their relationship was a severe one, and it was sustained by Mr. Depp. After an argument shortly after their marriage, while the couple was in Australia, she berated him, and when he tried to leave, she became violent. She became so violent, in fact, she threw a vodka bottle at him that hit his hand and exploded. It severed the end of one of his fingers. You will learn that there came a time when Mr. Depp was done.
So on May 21st, Mr. Depp came by the apartment that he shared with Ms. Heard in the Eastern Columbia building, or the ECB, as some people refer to it, to tell her that, to pick up his things, and to say goodbye. There is no dispute that soon after Mr. Depp ended things with Ms. Heard and left the apartment on May 21st, he got on a plane to head out on a European tour, a music tour, for months with his band, the Hollywood Vampires. You will hear from the police officers who responded to a 911 call on May 21st, after Mr. Depp left. The police officers will testify that they saw no injuries on Ms. Heard. Nor did the police officers see any of the property damages that you will hear Ms. Heard claims existed in the apartments that evening. And you will hear those officers under oath testify that there was no violence and there was no crime. You will also hear from multiple witnesses who, like the police officers, saw Ms. Heard between May 21 and May 26. Those are the crucial days between the alleged incident and the day she walked into court with her lawyer and got an ex parte order. And those witnesses will testify that they saw her without any marks, any signs of injuries on her face. Ultimately, this trial is about clearing Mr. Depp's name of a terrible and false allegation. We ask you in the next several weeks to please carefully consider the evidence, assess the reliability and credibility of that evidence, and to make your own determination about what actually happened between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard.
All right, that was a little look back at the opening statements, which are not evidence, but they are the first time you hear the story. So they certainly make an impression on the members of the jury who are hearing this case. We've got 6 men, 3 women on that jury, so they get a little break within this 6-week-long trial. That's the projection. And so we've seen 4 weeks so far. We've got the dark week this week with the judge being off. And then when everyone comes back, it'll be time for the cross-examination of Amber Heard. Let me bring in my guest, forensic psychologist, Dr. John Delatorre, standing by in San Antonio, Texas. Dr. John, wanted to bounce something off of you that one of our guests on the show mentioned as we were watching Amber Heard's testimony. Attorney Josh Schiffer, who is a regular like yourself here on Court TV, and he was saying, you know, I have a little bit of a theory about why Amber Heard isn't emoting more. And that was really on day number 1 when he said this. I know on day 2 we saw a lot more tears from her, but he said, Julie, I've represented a lot of victims of sexual assaults and domestic violence, and sometimes if trial happens many years later and they've had an opportunity for a lot of therapy, they've been telling that story over and over and over again to their therapist and to get it all out and work through the trauma, that when it comes time to tell it in court, they're not as emotional as the average person might expect them to be. So I wanted to see what you think of that as a mental health professional and as somebody watching this case closely. Tell us your thoughts, please.
Yeah, it's usually one of the biggest problems when it comes to just true crime in general is what do we expect someone to be? How do we expect someone to act, how to behave, how to emote, or anything like that? But the truth is, particularly when it comes to trauma therapy, is that we want to be able to help the person remember the event without having to relive it. And oftentimes individuals who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder relive the event as if it is happening right then and there with all of the intense emotions associated with it. And that attorney was absolutely 100% correct. With enough therapy, the person can recount the events without having the same intense emotions associated with it. It's certainly possible that's something that Amber Heard is going through right now as she testifies.
Sure. And I know earlier when we had a chance to talk a little bit about her testimony, you said to you, Amber Heard sounded rehearsed, which you said is to be expected, right? Absolutely, these trial attorneys are going to practice with their clients 100%. They're probably practicing right now as you and I are speaking here on Court TV and we're having this conversation. I'm curious, Dr. John, to get your thoughts on how Johnny Depp came off to you as you were watching his testimony. Your thoughts on him, please.
It was one of those things where he was just allowed to riff, right? This was an opportunity for him to finally tell a story. So they gave him as much room as they wanted. In fact, I think sometimes too much room to just say whatever he wanted to say, however he wanted to say it. And that's, to me, he seemed the more authentic of the two, meaning that he's not the one as rehearsed. But when it comes to Amber Heard, my expectation was that she probably would be, while Johnny Depp would be allowed to be just a little bit more naturalistic in his testimony.
Tell me, what did you think of his body language when she was up there on the stand?
You know, it's one of those things where you can't really trust body language until you really get to know the person. But if I had to fashion a guess, I think he didn't want to show any faces to the jury. Johnny Depp is someone who puts all of his emotions into his facial expressions, and it can come across really bad. It can potentially turn off the jury if he's making faces that he shouldn't be making to comments that Amber Heard is making. So more than likely, he was told, keep your face down the entire time, or else people might see your face.
Dr. John, something that I have struggled with watching this and analyzing their testimony as a lawyer, as somebody with expertise in trial advocacy, these two are actors. Both of them. Something that makes this case also very unusual, and I think also something that is kind of feeding the public appetite for it. And when you're assessing whether or not they're telling the truth, it is very hard to know what is authentic and what is an act. So I'm curious, in your practice, let's say you are about to assess and treat a patient who is an actor for a living, and they're coming to you for an evaluation. How do you approach that kind of a situation in your private practice, Dr. John?
It's complicated because it's one of those things, because a lot of times, sometimes what they've practiced, right, their art that they've practiced can become so nuanced that it invades their own personal lives. So you want to really be able to get someone out of the therapy room and into the world itself, right? Sometimes the best way that we know each other is by interacting in ways that put someone off guard, put someone in a place where they don't have to be the guarded individual. So it takes a long amount of time to truly get to know what someone is being authentic and when someone is being guarded, and how and why they are being guarded.
Mm-hmm. Right. I kept thinking, as a trial lawyer, if I was representing either one of them, I'd probably ask the question at some point on the direct, you know, you're an actor for a living, and, you know, for the members of the jury who don't know you, to your point, Dr. John, how can they know that what you're telling them is, in fact, 100% you and doesn't involve any, I might even do that just to kind of get it out there and help the jury feel reassured, because I keep thinking, if we're looking at this, thinking this, they are too. They know they're actors. I mean, it's part of the big draw with this case. Such an interesting issue that makes for quite a component to talk about here. I am being told we're going to squeeze in a break. Dr. John Della Torre, you're going to stay with us as we head into the Mario Batali case. The jury was set to be back right around this time to hear more of the case. Where we left off, we were on the cross-examination of the woman who says the celebrity chef sexually assaulted her. She's claiming she was groped and forcibly kissed in a restaurant while they were taking selfies. So we're going to go in there live after this. Also, we have streaming for you on CourtTV.com the Torre Grinstead case, the beauty queen murder trial. That one's starting today. You can see it gavel to gavel as well. We'll be right back.
Com today.
This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant. It is a brand new week, and we've got brand new trials for you on Court TV. You can do some double streaming if you like. Somebody tweeted that at me a little while ago. We've got the Torre Grinstead case, that is the beauty queen murder trial, streaming on CourtTV.com. And also, here on this broadcast, you're going to see the trial of celebrity chef Mario Batali. So everyone is just kind of reconvened in the courtroom. This is a bench trial rather than a jury trial. And I apologize for misspeaking moments ago. Forgive me, I guess I can say it's a Monday. I don't know where my head was. We were thinking all along this was going to be heard by a jury, because that's how the attorney scheduled this trial. That was his choice up until today. And in kind of a surprise move, he decided to go judge instead of jury, which is his right. That is not unusual. There are bench trials taking place all around the country every single day, probably right now. But our cameras are in this one. So when we go back in, we're going to hear more of the cross-examination of the alleged victim. Let's go in together live.
So now I have a question for you. I believe you testified that Peter Vassalin was present when you told Rachel Barkley about this supposed assault, right?
Yes.
So you're not disputing that, you recall he was there?
Yeah, I mean, Peter was always there with Rachel.
In fact, you knew him from high school and only Rachel through your friendship with Peter.
That's right, yes.
So he was there when you told her about this assault.
Yeah.
And he knew that you had made this plan, right?
I don't know what Peter knew.
Well, he knew about the encounter, and he knew that you'd taken the photos of Mr. Batali and the selfies, right?
I'm not sure exactly what Peter knew.
Well, didn't he text you a few months later in July? And didn't he ask you if you still have the photos? Do you still have those Mario Batali, or however you spell his name, photos? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Can you take a look at ID 108, please?
Okay, I'm here.
And just take a look at those 2 pages. It looks like you're texting him and you send him 3 photos. Is that right?
Yes.
You're on and off for 108. Any objection, Conwell?
No objection.
All right, so 10 1-way, do the next.
So he asked you at 2:47 on July 20th. So this happened April 1st, April, May, June, July, 3 months after this closed assault, correct?
Yes.
And he said, do you have those Mario Batali, however you spell his name, photos? What did you respond?
I said, yeah, laughing my ass off. Of course I do. And then I said,
Let me check. And you sent him 1, 2, 3 photos, right?
that's right.
And then you wrote wasted beyond. Hilarious. About your encounter with Mr. Batali, correct?
That's right.
That's 3 months after you claimed he assaulted you.
That's right.
And this is another one of those text messages that you didn't turn over in this little case, is it?
It seems so.
It seems so what?
I mean, I don't recall this text, but if it wasn't, I mean, it was turned over eventually here.
Well, I represent to you, you testified that you were ordered to turn over your phone for those text messages. And it came from there.
Okay.
And when you went to the Boston Police Department, you didn't bring this text with you that shows you sending photos and joking about it with Mr. Baskin, right?
Right. I didn't recall this conversation.
You only brought the stuff that you thought would help you when you went to the police, right?
No.
You didn't bring the cable toner text messages we just looked at where she said to play the story, right?
After being asked so many times for all the different pieces of information.
I'm saying when you went to the Boston Police, before you ever filed a lawsuit, you went and you found the text messages that you brought with you to the detectives, right?
I brought the photos to them. I don't know about text messages.
But you didn't bring these messages that I've shown you here, right?
I didn't know.
You chose what, your lawyers chose what you would bring to the police, correct?
No.
No what?
No, we didn't just select things we would bring and wouldn't bring.
You didn't search your phone, you didn't look for these photos that were showing you now, and the comments that you made. They were essentially contemporaneous to the assault. You didn't look for those, right? Before you went to the police. We had to get them from an order from the court, correct?
That's right.
Now,
but might I please add that,
that's all. Okay. You'll get a chance on the computer. That's how this goes. So, is it fair to say that when you use the term grope, and that's a term you use when you talk to Rachel?
Yes.
You use the term you grope me?
Yes.
And it's fair to say when you use that term, it doesn't always mean inappropriate touching, right?
It does.
Every time you use that term, you're talking about inappropriate touching.
In all the situations that I can recall, yes.
Well, I'd like you to take a look at 113.
Yes.
You recognize that?
This is a photo of some friends.
Yeah, it's a text between you and Taylor Torre, correct?
Yes.
It's dated November 8th, 2017.
Yes.
And you say, you got your picture. Your friend says you look phenomenal. And then you say, Jonathan is like all broken and pristine. See that?
Yes.
Can you see the photo?
Yes.
He's not touching any private areas, is he?
But I don't know if he has her permission to be touching her there, and that I would say is a sensitive area to be grabbing her around her waist and pulling her towards him.
So when you said groping there, that you could have meant Mr. Batali had his arm around your waist when you said groping.
To me, the way that Jonathan is grabbing Christine is not the way that he should be touching her.
That's how you feel.
You know what? I don't know if Christine wanted that.
So you're projecting what you thought she said or thought she felt.
No, I mean, if I were in that position and Jonathan were touching me that way, I wouldn't like that.
That's not touching breast, buttocks, or crotch, is it?
No, he's not touching those areas in this photo.
None of those things.
No.
And you use the term grope.
Yes, in his text message, he is.
Now, February 5th, 2018, that's 10 months since you claimed you were assaulted. Is that all right?
I'm sorry.
February 2018, you said this happened in April.
Yes.
Now we're into the next year.
Okay, yes, that makes sense.
You were called to jury duty, correct?
That's correct.
And I'd like you to take a look at ID number 41. You recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
Just trying to get an extra copy of that. I'm not sure where they are. I'm not gonna see.
While we have a break in the action, we're going to squeeze in a break. Don't go anywhere. More Court TV Live after this.
Join Calibrate.com.
As to how someone else felt.
Do you recall her telling you that she was nervous?
I don't recall, but I'm sure if I were in that situation, I would also feel nervous.
So let's look at exhibit marked 130, please. Text exchange between you and Rachel Mobley, January 21, 2018. About 3 weeks before you report to jury duty. She says, was it just a year ago that Mario Batali thing happened? You say it was April 1, 2017. Go to the next page. She says, I'm calling her in just a few minutes. You see that?
Yes.
And then she says, I'm like nervous, WTF. You see that?
I do.
So do you recall now that Ms. Mobley told you she was nervous about talking to the reporter?
Yes.
And you said a couple times, don't be nervous, right?
Right.
Encouraging her, right?
Yeah, and just saying, the reporter is very friendly and no need to be nervous.
And then you told her 12 o'clock on January 22nd.
necessarily, just to kind of remember, like...
No. So you told her to say...
Say that.
That was your state of mind on January 22nd, 2008, correct?
Yeah, and the sentiment behind that statement?
You'll get a chance to explain it.
Okay.
The sentiment, if it's necessary, or decides it. But, so this is again 3 weeks before you're on the jury, before you sign that questionnaire.
Yes.
And you're talking about this incident with Ms. Buckley, urging her to contact the reporter to describe the dehumanizing brutal assault that you had happened, right?
That's right.
And then you show up to jury duty, and there's a question that's asked, if you've been a victim of a crime, you didn't check that box.
Because at that point I did not check that box.
Yeah, that's exhibit, it's in evidence, identified as 41, right?
Page 41.
Let's see, exhibit number, I'm sorry. It's exhibit 11. But instead, you wrote, your father was a witness to murder.
That's right.
And then you wrote, is there anything else in your background, experience, employment, training, education that might affect your ability to be an impartial jury? You said yes, and you wrote clairvoyancy, right?
That's right.
Are you clairvoyant?
To a certain extent, yes.
You are?
Yes.
That's your testimony on road today in this great standing. You are clairvoyant.
I mean, yes, you can use other words, but yeah, I would consider myself to a certain extent being able to predict or have a feeling about major events that happen.
So when you were texting with your friend Kayla, and you said, I'm going to use the clairvoyant excuse to get out, that's just...
Well, I didn't get out of jury duty, and I was very forthcoming with the folks who were questioning when they asked, what is clairvoyancy, and can you read minds, and would that affect your ability to be impartial? And I said, no, it's not.
I just want to be clear. Yeah. You're testifying under oath, like you were in that courtroom as a juror.
Yes.
That you weren't making up the clairvoyant and then, okay. So let's take a look at ID 133. Yes.
I don't see what...
I don't know, it's not the right... it's not, I may have here, we're going to use it. You need a copy of 133, your own?
No, I think I have one.
So, Ms. Here you are, February 4th. Do you remember that was the Patriots Super Bowl where they lost to the Eagles?
It was, yes.
And you were at a Super Bowl party that night?
I was, yes.
And you were joking around with Olivia James, who's a friend of yours?
Yes. Well, was she at the Super Bowl party? Yes.
So she texted you, so fun, yet so sad, LOL. It was great. Then she goes on to say, good luck tomorrow. My clairvoyant senses tell me to go get out of it. So the pinky emoji. Do you see that? In the text?
Yes, I see that from Olivia James, yes.
Then you wrote, that was so much fun. I'm happy you guys came off the jury duty at Gil. My clairvoyant senses are tingling. You wrote that, right? Were they tingling?
Yeah.
Did you know you were going to get on that jury?
I had a feeling, yeah.
Did you have a feeling you were going to break the judge's orders? Did you have a feeling he would get out of prison after you did that?
I did.
Objection. Relevance.
I withdraw it. LOL, they picked me as the first juror. And then you look at the next page.
Sorry. Different order.
Your Honor, if I may at this point, I think this is time for us, the Commonwealth to put its standing objection on the record about this entire line of questioning. It has absolutely no relevance to what we're here for today.
Your objection will be noted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah, so, can I, when you wrote LOL, they take me as the first juror, then there's, it says FML. What does that mean?
No, because that's true.
Okay,
Just the way all the other statements that were on there were true.
So then you said,
At the
look at the next page on 133. No, I'm going to offer that now, so it's in evidence.
All right, you object, Commonwealth, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so the Commonwealth's objection will be noted. This text thread will be burned as the next exhibit on evidence.
So then you write, I told them I'm trying to predict major events, etc. And the picture. Friend, you continue, you wrote, it's this guy from Nowhere, Mass. And he's being my client. This was a big joke to you, right?
No, it wasn't a joke. It was pretty serious, the way that he beat up his girlfriend.
Okay, but your service as a juror is a joke to you.
No, my service as a juror was very serious.
Then you said LOL. Laugh out loud, right? See that? Then you said, apparently he isn't even going to testify, but like the woman and the other victims will. This is at 11:30 on the first day of trial, right?
Yes.
You actually got put in the box, you were swearing as a juror.
Yes.
And then she wrote, OMGGG, they went for it. See that?
Yes.
Meaning, it felt. Didn't know what she meant? Didn't know you understood the joke to be?
No.
Then you wrote, no idea, the guy gets the pick. Oh, sorry. She says, we're on page 3, how did you get picked, LOL? Exclamation, question mark, exclamation. You wrote, no idea. The guy gets to pick who he wants, so maybe he thought I was the other side. She wrote, crazy wants a crazy. He. Then you wrote, ha, 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 right?
That's right.
Then if you look at 135.
Okay, so we've got to call a timeout right now. Did you catch what this witness said? She claims to be clairvoyant. When asked the question on cross, she very firmly said that is something she has. She did not back down from that. I would love to know what the judge is thinking hearing that. Let me bring in forensic psychologist Dr. John Torre in San Antonio, Texas. Dr. John, what does the science say about this, please?
No, it doesn't exist. I mean, we can have a conversation about parapsychological events that clairvoyancy is a part of, but overall, the science does not support the extrasensory perception that clairvoyance underlies. No, not at all.
I appreciate it, Dr. John. It's perfect that we have you on the program this hour to help us walk through this. And when you saw counsel ask the question, I mean, it's definitely one of those rules we always say, never ask a question you don't know the answer to. And you could see where he was expecting her to say no, or at least it looked that way to me, didn't it to you? And he looked kind of surprised when she said yes, but it was actually good for him, wasn't it, that she said that?
No, it absolutely was, and I think it was a sequence of questions that he wanted to ask a jury in front of a jury, because at that moment an entire jury would tune her out. A judge was probably maybe just ignoring all of that stuff. A judge hears all kinds of things all the time. A jury, however, might have absolutely turned her off and labeled her as uncredible after that line of questioning had she said yes in front of a jury.
Dr. John, that is such an excellent point. You try your cases differently before judges and juries. You know, for instance, all of the different legal explainers you would do for a jury, you would never do that for a judge. They would be insulted, you know, with something like that. And here you're right, he probably had prepared for this to be in front of a jury, and that could have been a big moment, you know, where you get some, you know, faces and eyebrows raised and okay. And here, gosh, I would love to know what the judge thought of that. That may be a strike against her. Tell me, is there anything else that's jumping out at you, please, Dr. John, as you're listening to her answers, as she's being very carefully and rigorously being cross-examined by defense counsel?
She's becoming increasingly combative, right? The defense attorney has maintained his pace and posture pretty much throughout the entire time. She's becoming increasingly combative in that she doesn't feel as though she can actually elaborate on a lot of these answers. While he keeps telling her, well, the redirect is going to happen, you'll get to do it then. So he stays calm and composed. She is becoming more and more flustered and combative. Again, if this was in front of a jury, she's turning them off. In front of a judge, who knows?
Yeah, excellent observation, Dr. John. I really like how this attorney has so much information that he's crossing her on. He's very methodical. He seems to be very organized. He knows what his next move is going to be. He's doing a fine job in all of those respects. The only thing I wish he would stop doing is stepping on her, because you can't hear either one of them when they talk over each other. And then the other thing, too, the trial transcript is a big mess. That poor court reporter who's trying to take down everything that's said, you know, it can be really difficult, and when you can't get the answer out, makes for a mess up on appeal, too, if somebody takes one.